Welcome to Jags Drive Time with John Oehser and Brian Sexton. Jags Drive Time starts right now.
Good morning and welcome to Jags Drive Time. We'll call it the Owners Meetings Edition, as I am here in Jacksonville at TIAA Bank Field, and John Oehser is in Arizona. You know, the meetings are generally at the Biltmore out there, but something tells me John's at the Fairfield Inn down the road. We have got a jam-packed show, lots of things to talk about today. So without further ado, let's bring in the senior writer from Jaguars.com. Oh, okay. We're not going to do that yet. We're going to go to big things right out of the gate. And we'll start with big thing number one. Year two, it's a pretty big deal. And Doug said yesterday that he was looking forward to the second year of the program that he got started last year. It's been a while since we've had a coach in year two to see the continuity. He is anticipating a lot of very positive and productive storylines coming from year two.
And we can show them now on tape this spring those issues, and that's where we get better, and that's where we take another step. It's just the details of what we're doing in all three phases, and that's why this offseason will be exciting to get the guys back.
Offseason program begins April 17th. All right, big thing two, no surprise here. Trevor Lawrence in year two with Doug, and Doug was effusive in his praise yesterday when he met with the media at the owners' meetings.
I truly believe that there's so much more for him, and he wants that, and he's willing to do what it takes to work, and that's what you want as the leader of your football team, right? And that rubs off on the rest of your team.
And big thing three is improvement. And I touched on this last week. If you saw Happy Hour with Jeff Loggeman, improvement is more than just adding players to the roster, though they'll do that when the draft comes up later in April. They didn't get a lot of that done in free agency for the obvious reason. There's not a lot of money. But there is plenty of room to get better, and the coach touched on that issue yesterday.
We're not necessarily installing the offense again or the defense again, right? It's just how we make it better and how we use our players better in certain situations.
And so now we bring in the senior writer, John Oehser, who joins us from the Fairfield Inn, just outside the airport. Is that where you're staying, John?
Super 8, Brian.
Super 8.
Super 8. And it is super. I'm not going to lie to you.
I bet it is. You have to take a bus and an Uber to get over to the owners' meetings, or do they actually let you in the building?
It's a good place to be.
Yeah, I'm glad.
No, it's more remote. I lob rocks and hope they let me in. So, but it's good. It's a living.
Let's start with Doug yesterday. And obviously, at the coaches' breakfast, coaches are relaxed. It's a different scene than we see when Doug stands in front of the media at the podium or on the practice field after a day of training camp. And he was, I thought, very candid when he talked about the approach that this team has this offseason.
Yeah, you had to be quick. I mean, they shortened this thing up. It used to be an hour. Now it's a half an hour. So we were trying, Demetrius Harvey from the Times-Union and I were trying to get Jaguars-related questions in sort of around a lot of national people. And Doug does attract a national audience, which is kind of cool. But I was really trying to get with Doug on getting an idea. At the Combine, we talked about draft with him and free agency, sort of what maybe to expect. With that not really being very busy this year, I wanted yesterday to try to get an idea for what he had seen in the film work that I know they've done ever since they got back from a couple of weeks off after Kansas City. I wanted to get a feel for, hey, you've dug down into this offense now. You talked for a year about how you thought there'd be a second-year jump. What are you really doing to see that? And the thing that really struck me, and I asked him about it, he sort of gave a quick answer on Trevor, and he was almost trying to hide a smile. And I said, you're smiling when you think about this. You're excited about this. And he, that's when he kind of relaxed and gave the answer that we saw on big things. I think he saw in tape, I think him and Press Taylor and the offensive coaches saw a kid who improved dramatically had major stretches where he was really good. We saw it against Los Angeles the second half, Dallas at times, where he was lights out and putting up points that any quarterback could do. I think they see where they can take away certain things that he wasn't doing quite well. I think they just see where they're going to streamline this thing, and I think they think he's going to explode. I don't think they really want to talk about it and get giddy, but I think there's a feeling there that this thing's going to jump.
Well, John, it's easy to look at the roster and see where other guys will improve dramatically when the quarterback does. Here's one example that people might not relate to the quarterback, but you got a cornerback like Tyson Campbell, right? He's a young guy going into his third year. He's an ascending player, someone you want to be able to count on. What if he's playing with a lead, which he rarely did in his first season, and last year, there were close games. What if there is a pass rush from Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen because they can tape their ears back and get after him because they're leading by 14 points? How much better does that make Tyson Campbell, right? When you look at the whole roster, he's the linchpin that gets it all rolling.
Yeah, I think we saw that a little bit, and it's a little hard to really discern the stats because, stats can be twisted any which way. But the offense got better late last season, if you remember. Doug talked about it. Second half of the season, Trevor Lawrence got better, 15 or 14 touchdowns, 1 interception, whatever that number was. It was much better than the first half. The defense in the second half of the season after Detroit, they gave up 3 400-yard games in a row that ended with Detroit. In the 5 games after that, they never gave up 400 yards. Their turnovers forced went way up in that last 5 games as opposed to the previous 8. You've got to think a lot of that had to do with playing with more leads, playing in situations where the other team's got to pass. I agree with you, Brian. And one thing Doug said yesterday, I asked him about the defense later on in the conversation. He said we got to get better pass rush.
Yeah.
But he didn't say that would happen once you get a lead, because I don't think he wants to give the defensive players, we get a lead, we're going to get to the passer. But NFL people know if you're facing 3rd and 8, that's much easier to get a sack than if you're trailing. Than if you're trailing by 7 and facing 3rd and 2.
And
when they get leads, they're going to get better pass rush.
And there were 2 players that he talked about, and what they at length he talked about. So let's start with Trayvon Walker, since we're on the defensive side. And he talked about what he liked from Trayvon last year and what he needed to see from Trayvon. He mixed a little bit of Josh Allen in there, but I thought when he was talking about the pass rush improving, he was leaning heavily into last year's number 1 overall pick, taking a big jump forward. Maybe, John, even a Trevor Lawrence kind of jump sometime in this year where he gets it, where the light goes on and all of a sudden he's playing to his potential.
Yeah, and he went a couple different directions there. The big thing, I keep getting questions about Trayvon, what he's doing to improve. So I asked Doug about that, hoping he'd get into it a little bit. I think the big thing he said was, look, players get better in year 2, not necessarily because they're working on a certain move on the practice field out at their individual camp in Colorado. You know what I mean? Everybody sort of wants that. They get better because they don't have just a grind of an off season going into the draft. They get better because all of a sudden they know how to study a little better. They, a lot of these guys come in from college and they've been better than their opponent for years. They haven't had to study the offensive tackle across from them. So most rookies get better learning how to study, learning how to take what they see on tape and putting it into use in a game, knowing how to approach different offensive tackles if you're Trayvon. So he talked more about that as a concept. I think with Trayvon's will, with his work ethic, with his frame, obviously he's got everything. I think they think he'll take a jump for that reason. But I do think that obviously we've talked about it, Brian. This team needs those second-year guys to be impactful on defense. Doug certainly believes that has to happen.
Now, on the other side of the ball, he mentioned briefly ETN being one of those second-year guys. Even though it'll be his 3rd NFL season, it'll be his 2nd year. He expects him to take a big jump. But the conversation went to Calvin Ridley and what the coach had seen watching tape and where his thoughts were on how the guy they traded for last October might become someone they really can count on, this October and November as they make another playoff run.
Yeah, to your first point with ETN very quickly, Doug said it at the Combine, and he sort of hinted at it yesterday and then got off on another topic. I think he believes the running game is going to be a lot better. Not that it wasn't good last year, not that anybody did anything wrong. He just believes there's some continuity stuff there, too, with Travis learning to hit holes in the NFL. There's a learning curve there with second-year running backs that's not talked about as much as quarterbacks. I think he thinks overall there's going to be more continuity and better out of the running game with all running backs. Yes, he got into Ridley a little bit. I thought it was interesting. This was the first time they've really wanted to talk about Ridley because he hadn't cleared suspension yet before. And he didn't go all in. He didn't talk about, hey, this guy's going to be the one. He's going to change the offense. But they definitely believe that this guy is going to fit what they do, help everybody, and raise everybody else. If this kid's what he is, meaning a number one receiver, all of a sudden there's a lot of pieces in place offensively. And, Doug didn't go into that kind of detail on it. You got to hear it in his voice. They're excited about what they've seen from him. And they think that what he does well fits what they do well.
Yeah, that much was clear listening to him. And, he touched a little bit on Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk and Zay Jones and how this guy gives them one more weapon, but it's one more chess piece to try to create the sort of mismatches and the sort of matchups that they were looking for last year but couldn't always get there. And when you combine that with Trevor Lawrence taking a big step forward, a defense that might be able to give you some turnovers in field position, look, John, you know it as well as I do. Doug Pederson, from the moment he got here, was calm and confident, right? He knew that he knew what it took to get this team up off the mat. And by the end of the year, he had done that. I got to imagine that you felt that confidence yesterday sitting next to him as he talked about where he expected this team to go this year.
Yeah, I don't want to put words in his mouth because he's, doesn't need me to do that. It seemed to me, Brian, we listened to him all last year, and whenever he was asked about it, he talked about the offense was going to be better in its second year than it was in its first interim. He just believes that because he knows what continuity means. So then last year, they sort of, they got very hot at the end. It turned into its own story. 2023 was no longer what they were talking about. They wanted to go win it when they could then. So that kind of got backburnered a little bit, and I'm not sure Doug thought about it as much. And then it seems like you take a couple of weeks, you decompress from Kansas City, if it was that long. I don't know what it was. But all of a sudden you turn the page to 2023, and you just get the feeling that now they've gone back, they've looked at what they were last season, and maybe even looked around the team meetings going, hey, we still got a second-year jump coming. As good as they were getting at the end of last year, if you push that forward and you get rid of some of the inconsistency and start, add Calvin Ridley to it, it seemed to me that maybe the coaches are looking at it now, and deep inside, not want to talk about it too much, they're feeling the excitement on film that everybody else is sort of feeling on Twitter and on social media. I know you love Twitter, Brian. So
I spent a lot of time.
I think they're feeling the same sort of thing that the fans are starting to feel, and it's real. So that was sort of my gut listening to Doug. Maybe that's way off. Maybe
John, you're the only guy I follow on Twitter, John. You give me everything I need.
I'm a good follow.
Yeah, I would say that you are. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back on Jags Drive Time, we'll take a look at some of the other issues around the National Football League that John is covering from Arizona and get his thoughts and maybe a preview of his conversation later today with Jaguars owner Shad Khan. All that and more straight ahead on Jags Drive Time.
I'm Dr. Hughes, cardiovascular surgeon.
The Florida Lottery has contributed billions of dollars to education, putting kids like me on the path to success.
And they've awarded countless Bright Future scholarships, helping me pursue higher education.
So I can do more than just dream of a brighter future.
I can create one.
The Florida Lottery is proud to help fund the futures of students all across our state. Learn more at flalottery.com/education.
And that's a Magellan first down.
Move the freight. Move the freight. Move the freight. Would you like to control your own income? Work at Magellan Transport. Voted the coolest office space in Duval. Bring your talents and let your career flourish. Visit their website at MagellanLogistics.com and apply online. Trust service. Trust Magellan.
At Five Star Credit Union, you inspire them to go the extra mile to meet your financial needs. That's why they offer Jaguars fans more banking options like better rates and no hidden fees. Their team is also dedicated to making the communities they serve stronger, volunteering their time and talents while donating millions to local nonprofits. Five Star Credit Union, FiveStarCU.org. Go Jags!
Obviously, different team, different circumstances, all that, but a different coach from the standpoint, I think, of, just relating to the players a little bit more. I had great relationships with the guys in Philly, but I think just understanding the roster, being more involved with the roster in Jacksonville, and just kind of understanding the different dynamics, for me, understanding better the team, the roster, the makeup, the chemistry, and that, I think, is one of the differences that I saw, along with having fun with the guys, every day.
That's head coach Doug Pederson from yesterday's AFC Coaches Breakfast. Brian Sexton back with you here on Jags Drive Time from TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville. John Oehser joins us from the Biltmore in Arizona. John, what struck me was he was asked questions by some Philadelphia reporters, about players and situations in Philly when he was there. He was also asked questions about quarterback development and about his year out of football. I think Ryan O'Halloran was the guy who asked him that about Sean Payton coming back in Denver. So it was a fair question. So how are you different? What's different about Doug Pederson in Jacksonville than Doug Pederson in Philly? And I didn't cover him in Philly, but I would say he seems relaxed and confident.
Yeah, I can't imagine that he wasn't relaxed and confident there. But, you come in, I've got to think he's in a good place right now. You come in, you've got a Super Bowl ring, so he knows what that looks like. He said all year that he thought the team was, early, he thought the team was good. It proved itself to be good. He believes there's going to be a second-year jump, so he thinks they're going to be better. He has that frame of reference in Philly where they went and won the Super Bowl in the second year after not making the playoffs. I don't think that means that he's, already fitting himself a ring, but I think he expects this to be a good year where he and a fun year. Improvement's fun. Watching players reach their potential is fun. I think he thinks he's going to see that out of this offense. And I'm sure, again, I didn't know Doug when he was in Philly. I don't pretend to know him, on any sort of a level past covering him now. But I'm sure, a year away from the game, some perspective there. It wasn't easy to be dismissed in Philly as he has. So I'm sure there's a little bit of a perspective that comes when you age as a human being and, and as a person and experience. I've got to think he's in a really good place. And I think you saw that reflected in Jacksonville last year. Money where the mouth is, so to speak. You say you don't panic. You say you're a level-headed guy. He showed it after October last year. I've got to think this is a good time to be Doug Pederson.
All right, so let's touch on a couple of things. First of all, the Jaguars, as had been reported last week, yesterday they announced the signing of two backup defensive tackles, Michael Dogby, who was right there in Arizona with the Cardinals for a number of years, and Henry Mondeau, who's bounced around with a couple of different teams. I think most recently he was with the New York Giants. That's the kind of solid signings, you hope they're solid signings, they both look like they are, that you need to have when you've got a quarterback you're about to pay.
Yeah, you need guys who all three of their recent signings, the running back from Cleveland, Dearness Johnson, sort of the same deal. 5th year in the NFL. When you put on the tape, you have, none of these guys have missed a whole lot of time. So they've got 4 years to look at and see what they are. I think Trent Baalke looked at these guys and said, hey, we know exactly what's walking in the building. We don't have to guess. They're not projects. They're not developments. They're plug-and-play guys. 2 of them on 1-year deals. I think they're all on 1-year deals. So they're that thing that makes sense. They're veterans who know the league. They're sort of younger versions of Adam Gotsis, maybe. Who came in 2 or 3 years ago. And
valuable reserve.
Yeah, we don't talk much about Adam, but every couple of games he's making a play where you go, oh, Adam Gotsis. So I think these are sort of that kind of guy. And as you say, you have to have that in the NFL. It can't just be the 18 guys that you talk about first wave. You have to have good players as your, second 9 to 10 group, if you will.
All right. So
and you got to have guys on the defensive line.
The competition committee meets at the Combine in Indy in late February, early March. Then they present their recommendations on proposed rule changes to the owners here at this meeting. And so there are a couple of things. I'm just curious if you've heard anything about, the rugby style play, which Philadelphia, they converted that short yardage play with Jalen Hurts being pushed from behind 37 times in 41 attempts. So a lot of success there. There's a talk about replay for roughing penalties, which introduces a lot of different variables that none of which seem to be like it would help the situation. And then finally, what they're calling the Brock Purdy rule, which is the quarterback on the roster. Because Brock Purdy was injured, they were down to their third, which is like their fifth this year in San Francisco in that playoff game in Philly. You hearing anything at all about the prospects of any of these being a new point of emphasis or rule in 2023?
I haven't heard much beyond what I heard at the Combine, which that the rugby style scrum, it seems like people want to figure out a way to not have that be a thing. Not necessarily because it's anti-Philadelphia. I mean, I think people give them credit for figuring it out and making it work. But the injury potential there and the potential for it just not to look like football is pretty high. So the only vibe I've gotten is that they want to try to figure out a way to make that not what it was. And again, it's not because it was too easy. Credit to them for doing it, but
right.
When they try to get this huge bodies not colliding as much in a game where that's always there.
When you have the quarterback in the middle of that pile.
What's that?
You got that quarterback in the middle. That's your quarterback. I mean, that's your guy, and he's in the middle of all those human beings. There's a potential for serious injury there, too.
Yeah, so I don't think that'll be around long. I don't have a feel for whether it'll be outlawed in the next couple of days or not, but I think gradually we won't see that. The Brock Purdy rule, I think teams, generally speaking, there was a little bit of an outrage after that because, they shouldn't have that rule. Well, there's a rule to prevent that. You can carry 3 quarterbacks. So I'm not sure there was a whole lot of sympathy within a lot of people around the league for the 49ers because everybody knows that you're able to – you can carry 3 if you want. That's up to you.
Yeah.
So I never got a sense for that. And, the only people I've talked to about the roughing thing, fans want to see more things reviewed because they think it'll help. The roughing penalty, to me, if they review roughing, it's going to be the same thing as interference, where the competition committee goes, okay, you want it reviewed? Go review it this year. It'll be a disaster. It'll be a fiasco, just like interference. It won't help anything, and they'll take it out the next year. I don't think they'll review roughing because it's the old thing, Brian, and my blood starts to boil because it's a pet peeve of mine. More replayed things when their judgment don't change the final outcome. It just causes more controversy. It's one more person to make a decision, and it's still their opinion on what they saw.
All right, a couple more names to throw at you. And again, you're not covering these stories, but you're talking to your peers out there who are covering them.
I have no peers.
Okay. I'm sorry to put you in that uncomfortable position of having to acknowledge your greatness, John. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, there's been all sorts of stories back and forth there. Any idea that maybe gets solved, or if people are thinking this thing's going to drag out?
I think generally when you talk about Aaron Rodgers with other media people, it's sort of a deep sigh of at some point it'll happen, but they're tired of sort of dealing with it. It's like, okay, we've talked this to death. There's not a lot of new ground to cover, even if you're hanging out talking about it over a party. I think there's a feeling that it'll eventually get done. and it'll be on Aaron Rodgers' time, which who knows when that is.
Yeah, well, there's not a story, a headline that they made progress yesterday, so we'll see.
Sure.
Go ahead.
No, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Sure they did.
Exactly. Any scuttlebutt on the Lamar Jackson situation? When John Harbaugh was in his breakfast yesterday, Lamar tweeted that he wanted to be traded. It put the coach in that unique situation of having to comment. And of course, now you've got places that are looking for a quarterback. Indiana, in Indianapolis, Atlanta, thinking, well, maybe now's the time to strike while the iron's hot. Any sense of what's going on with Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, the only feeling that I've talked to from different people is, he's sort of been on the trade. Yes, he tweeted it out. Yes, it was a crafty move to put Harbaugh on the spot, but he's sort of been available for a long time. So did it change? Was it good to get in the Twitterverse for a day and get that out there that he's unhappy, wants to leave? Maybe, but it doesn't change that much. Everybody's known he's available to be pursued for 2 or 3 weeks now. So It doesn't really change that much in reality. Maybe it changes some perception, and sometimes that gets things moving. But I think the general feeling is that you just don't know much beyond what you knew yesterday morning.
All right, and before we let you go, how about a thought on your upcoming conversation this afternoon with Jaguars owner Shad Khan? Where are you going with that one?
Yeah, it's an interesting off season. When things are quiet, like when teams are winning, you don't get that much from the head coach in the offseason because there's not a whole lot of movement going on, right? So, I think for people watching it, the news from Doug Pederson probably felt a little bit like the news from the combine with Doug Pederson because, they're not making a lot of moves. They're trying to get better internally. That doesn't cause for great headlines. I think Shad's sort of the same way, frankly. The stadium thing is probably a few years away. It's a good team right now. He kept the coach. He kept the GM. Obviously, there's no change there. So my main thought with him is going to be, hey, you're an owner now who's been through a lot as an owner, had a lot of rough seasons. What's it like being out here when you're a successful owner? Are you enjoying that a little bit? Talking to him a little about the Miller Electric Center. I'll talk to him about Balky, and I'll talk to him about Pederson, sort of where he sees it going. I don't anticipate bombshell out of this, but I think fans will be interested to see how he feels about the team right now, particularly head coach, GM, Electric Centers, just sort of how he feels about things going forward.
All right. And you might tell him you have no peers. You might just let him know that he's sitting down with, an all-time great.
Well, he'll see it the right way, which is I have no peers because, I'm down here, baby.
John Oehser from Arizona. Thanks for joining us this morning, John. Safe travels home tomorrow.
Brian, thank you, buddy.
Appreciate it. When we come back here on Jags Drive Time, we'll check in with the Florida Lottery. All season long, we talked about a Scholar Athlete program and the Bright Futures program that the Florida Lottery is intricately involved with. We'll find out from the lottery's perspective how it all went. Jaguars fans, here's a great way to pay with pride wherever you go. Exclusively from TIAA Bank, the Jacksonville Jaguars Visa debit card comes with a fierce look and fantastic features, along with the convenience to make purchases online or at millions of locations worldwide. And it's yours, free, when you open a Yield Pledge checking account. Order yours today. Visit TIAABank.com/JagsCard. TIAA Bank is a division of TIAA, FSB, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Reconnect with the best version of you at Amara Med Spa, Northeast Florida's premier luxury medical spa, located in Ponte Vedra, Town Center, Avondale, St. Augustine, and Fernandina. With the most advanced injectors, estheticians, and technology, Amara Med Spa is redefining beauty, offering services such as Botox and filler, M-Sculpt Neo, painless laser hair removal, and advanced skincare treatments. Visit theamaramedspa.com and book a complimentary consultation today.
Welcome back to Jags Drive Time here at TIAA Bank Field. And joining us from Tallahassee now is the Secretary of the Florida Lottery, John Davis. And welcome, Secretary Davis, to the Jaguars Drive Time.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate having the opportunity to talk about the Florida Lottery's education initiative and what we're trying to accomplish here.
Well, we've been talking about it all season long through the stories of individual student athletes here in North Florida. But just give me a sense. There's a lot of different ways that you get the word out about the Florida Lottery. What made sense to you about partnering with an NFL team?
Well, first, let me say how proud we are to be able to partner with the Jaguars and to support such a phenomenal team and organization. And here at the Lottery, our focus is to be able to bring awareness to our mission of enhancing education, as well as to the Bright Future Scholarship Program and the opportunities it provides to all students across the state of Florida. And to be able to partner with the Jaguars is and as well as others, really creates that opportunity and the bandwidth that you all have to be able to get the message out.
And, you know, as the father of 2 high school students and 1 college student, I am fully aware of Bright Futures. But I don't know that a lot of people understand the link, the correlation between the Bright Futures and the Florida Lottery. Can you expound on that for us?
That is correct. The Bright Future Scholarship Program was created by the Florida legislature in 1997, and is primarily funded by the Florida Lottery. And the contributions the resources that we bring in through our gaming system goes to help fund the scholarship. And as we all know, it can be life-changing for so many students. And to date, the program has been able to help more than 950,000 students across this state pursue their dreams of a higher education. And we will continue to work with organizations like the Jaguars to be able to help get this message out.
Well, and you talked about the students, and we told the story of 5 individuals from different high schools throughout the course of the year. And I know that you told the story of hundreds as you went out and about spreading the message of the Florida Lottery and Bright Futures. How do these young people being featured like this, how do they benefit? What does it mean to them?
It means a lot. We have the opportunity, the Florida Lottery, we support a wide range of educational programs that are designed to improve the education here in this state, including our K-12 programs, our community colleges, our state universities. And when you begin to think about the constructions of new projects for new educational facilities, and of course, the Bright Future Scholarship Program. And these funds are used to support classroom instructions, technology, infrastructure improvement, and many other educational initiatives. And this funding provides quality education choices for Florida's families, which are able to help equip today's youth with the skills they need to become tomorrow's leader.
And I know that on April 18th, you're hosting an event here at the stadium, Be Inspired by Jags Jobs event. So tell us a little bit about the event and what you hope to get from it and what students should expect to get from it.
Yes, we partner with diverse organizations and schools, like the Jaguar program, that share the Lottery's commitment to education. And these partnerships provide a platform for the Lottery to be able to share our education mission and to be able to bring awareness, as I mentioned earlier, to the Bright Future Scholarship Program. But most importantly, we're dedicated to making sure that every student in this state, regardless of their race, religion, ethnicity, or socioeconomic status, knows that a brighter future is possible and attainable. And it's incumbent upon us and to make sure that we identify good partners around this state that have the exact same mission and drive to do the work that is necessary to position these kids, as well as to educate and make sure that their families, as well as other community organizations, are aware of the opportunities that exist. So being able to partner is something that allows us to just expand that net to be able to help these students.
Well, I'm sure you know, Secretary Davis, Jacksonville is a vibrant, thriving new city. To watch all the things that are happening downtown especially is to see the potential of Jacksonville. And we enjoyed telling the stories of that next generation of young people getting the opportunity to go out and achieve their goals and their dreams. And we hope to see you at a game in Jacksonville this fall.
Well, definitely look forward to that and can't wait till football season starts. I tell you, I was rooting and I was so excited just to watch the guys be able to turn it on towards the end of the year last year, and they made it so fun for so many, not just for us here in the state of Florida and there in Duval County, but having an entire nation watch what the Jaguars have in store, and I'm looking forward to them continuing that work next year and displaying it on the field. And I'd also just like to say that I'm extremely proud of the work that the Florida Lottery is doing to support not only the students there in Jacksonville, but all across the state, and as they go on to pursue their dreams and passion. And I'm so excited for what the future definitely holds for the students here in our great state of Florida.
Secretary John Davis of the Florida Lottery, thanks so much for your time this morning on Jags Drive Time. Look forward to seeing you in the fall.
Thank you, and have a good day.
Rates and no hidden fees. Their team is also dedicated to making the communities they serve stronger, volunteering their time and talents while donating millions to local nonprofits. VyStar Credit Union, VyStarCU.org. Go Jags!
As the official dentist of the Jacksonville Jaguars, ASAP Dental is a champion of the dental game. Let them win you over with full-service dental care and the same-day smile you deserve. Open 7 days a week, ASAP Dental has 8 locations to serve you in the Northeast Florida area. So come see them today. With their exceptional experience and care, you're always treated as the MVP. Visit asapdentalcare.com or call 904-500-2727 to book your appointment today.
I'm Dr. Hughes, cardiovascular surgeon. The Florida Lottery has contributed billions of dollars to education, putting kids like me on the path to success.
And they've awarded countless Bright Future scholarships, helping me pursue higher education.
So I can do more than just dream of a brighter future.
I can create one.
The Florida Lottery is proud to help fund the futures of students all across our state. Learn more at flalottery.com/education.
Well, move that freight with Magellan Transport. Voted coolest office space in Jacksonville. You can apply online at MagellanLogistics.com and help them move the freight.
When you look at drafting players, number one, we've established a culture in Jacksonville. So are they culture fits? I think for me, the high character. And look, not everybody's perfect, but at the same time, you want guys that are going to fit the culture that you've already established.
More from head coach Doug Pederson yesterday at the AFC Coaches Breakfast at the Biltmore in Arizona. And as we alluded to moments ago with John Oehser, you can expect an interview with Jaguars owner Shad Khan in a story and probably to drop in the video format at some point in the next 12 to 24 hours. That'll do it for Jags Drive Time. Happy Hour comes your way Thursday at 4 o'clock with JP Shadrick and Jeff Lageman. And John and I will be back next Tuesday at 10 o'clock, our normal time here in Jacksonville, with another sterling edition of Jags Drive Time, brought to you courtesy of our entire broadcast crew. Have a great day, everybody.